Well, good day, fine folks. Alexander here, your humble guide through the marvels of Whitwork's Wonderland. Hope you're all riding high on the waves of positivity on this fine day. Today's shindig is proudly sponsored by the powerhouse crew at Gizmo League. Think of them as the Avengers of gizmos and gadgets, I tell ya. They're all about serving up the slickest, most out-of-this-world tech that'll have you feeling like a character straight out of a sci-fi blockbuster. Let's give them a tip of the hat, shall we? And, hey, once we're done here, be sure to swing by www.gizmoleague.com for your daily dose of awesomeness. Now, let's dive headfirst into today's juicy gossip, shall we? Top 10 Technological Advancements That Backfired Spectacularly. Introduction. Technology is a double-edged sword, often promising progress but occasionally delivering unexpected setbacks. From seemingly ingenious inventions to ambitious innovations, history is rife with examples of technological advancements gone awry. Join us as we explore the top 10 technological breakthroughs that ended up backfiring spectacularly, leaving a trail of unintended consequences and lessons learned in their wake. 1. Nuclear power plants. Let's take a journey into the electrifying world of nuclear power plants, shall we? Picture this. Once upon a time, these behemoths of energy production were like the superheroes of the power generation world, promising clean, efficient electricity with a side of futuristic coolness. But, spoiler alert, things took a bit of a radioactive turn. Enter stage left, Chernobyl and Fukushima. These two names might ring a few alarm bells if you're even mildly acquainted with the world of nuclear disasters. These events weren't just hiccups in the power grid. They were full-blown wake-up calls, reminding us that even our most cutting-edge tech isn't immune to a good old-fashioned oopsie-daisy moment. You see, nuclear power plants, for all their promises of clean energy, are a bit like that fancy new car you just bought. Sure, it's sleek, it's shiny, and it's got all the bells and whistles, but one wrong move on the gas pedal, and suddenly, you're reenacting a fast and furious scene in your driveway. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying nuclear power is all bad. It's like that one friend who always brings the drama to the party. Sometimes it's a blast, and other times you're left cleaning up the mess for weeks. The problem is, when nuclear power plants decide to throw their version of a tantrum, it's not just a spilled drink or a broken vase. It's a full-blown international incident. And let's not forget the cast of characters in this nuclear drama. Human error and Mother Nature herself. It's like a tag team match where the stakes are sky high, and the consequences are, well, catastrophic. Because as much as we like to think we've got this whole nuclear thing under control, all it takes is one slip-up, one overlooked safety protocol, and suddenly you've got a situation that would make even Godzilla think twice about swinging by for a visit. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom in the land of nuclear power. We're a resilient bunch, us humans. We learn from our mistakes, we adapt, and we come back swinging, armed with new safety measures and a healthy dose of hindsight. So while nuclear power plants might have had their share of explosive moments, who knows? Maybe one day we'll look back on Chernobyl and Fukushima as the cautionary tales that led us to a brighter, safer future. Or, at the very least, they'll make for some killer bedtime stories to scare the grandkids with. 2. Theranos' blood testing technology. Alright, let's dive into the wild roller coaster that was Theranos. So, imagine this. You've got this startup, Theranos, strutting onto the scene, waving its magic wand, promising to revolutionize blood testing. They're all like, forget those vials of blood, we'll just take a teeny tiny drop, and boom, you're diagnosed just like that. It was like something out of a sci-fi flick, but hey, Silicon Valley loves a good spectacle. Now the thing is, while Theranos was talking the talk, it turns out they weren't exactly walking the walk. Behind the curtain, their technology was more smoke and mirrors than groundbreaking science. Like, you know those gadgets in spy movies that promise to do everything, but can't even make a decent cup of coffee? That was Theranos tech, only instead of a burnt latte, we're talking about people's health on the line. Fast forward a bit, and the whole charade starts unraveling like a cheap sweater in a hurricane. Turns out, You can't just fake your way through medical technology without consequences. There were lawsuits flying left and right, regulators breathing down their necks, and trust in the startup world taking a nosedive faster than you can say unicorn. It's like Theranos went from being the golden child of Silicon Valley to the cautionary tale they use to scare new entrepreneurs at business schools. Picture it, a boardroom full of eager investors, all starry-eyed at the prospect of backing the next big thing, only to realize they've been hoodwinked by a flashy PowerPoint and a charismatic CEO with a penchant for black turtlenecks. But hey, every cloud has a silver lining, right? Theranos may have crashed and burned harder than a souffle in a power outage, but it taught us some valuable lessons, like maybe we shouldn't blindly worship every tech guru with a TED Talk and a fancy title, or perhaps we should, I don't know, actually check if the science behind the hype holds up before we start handing out billions of dollars, like candy on Halloween. So, here's to Theranos, the cautionary tale that keeps on giving. May we always remember to look beyond the smoke and mirrors and demand a little substance with our Silicon Valley dreams. And who knows, maybe one day we'll find a way to revolutionize blood testing for real, without all the drama and legal woes. Until then, let's raise a glass to skepticism and a healthy dose of common sense. Cheers. 3. Google Glass. Sure, let's dive into the story of Google Glass. The gadget that was supposed to make us feel like we were living in the future, but ended up making us feel more like we were living in a Black Mirror episode. Picture this, it's 2013, and Google announced Google Glass with a lot of fanfare. These high-tech glasses were going to revolutionize everything. Imagine a world where you could get directions, check your messages, or even take photos just by talking to your glasses or looking in a certain direction. It sounded like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, and honestly, a lot of us were pretty excited about it. Who wouldn't want to be a tech-savvy superhero in their everyday life? But as it turns out, reality can be a bit of a buzzkill. Once people started wearing Google Glass, it quickly became clear that not everyone was thrilled about it. For one thing, the glasses had a little camera on them that could record videos and take photos. This raised a lot of eyebrows, and not in a good way. People were worried about being recorded without their knowledge, leading to fears about constant surveillance. Imagine sitting in a coffee shop, minding your own business, and wondering if the person across from you is secretly recording your every move. Creepy, right? And then there was the social aspect. Wearing Google Glass in public made you look like you were auditioning for a role in a futuristic dystopian movie. It didn't take long before people started to see Google Glass wearers as, well, a bit odd. There was even a term coined for them, glassholes. Ouch! Google Glass also had a hard time fitting in. While tech enthusiasts and certain professionals, like surgeons and engineers, found some use for it, the general public just couldn't get on board. It wasn't exactly the sleek, must-have accessory Google hoped it would be. Instead of becoming a ubiquitous part of daily life, it became a niche gadget for tech demos and very specific industries. In the end, Google Glass didn't quite revolutionize our interaction with technology as promised. Instead, it taught us a lot about the importance of privacy and how we perceive technology in our social spaces. So, while Google Glass may have fizzled out, it left behind some valuable lessons for future tech innovations. Plus, it gave us all a good laugh and maybe a bit of a cringe at how sometimes the future arrives wearing a funny-looking pair of glasses. 4. Segway Personal Transporter. Oh, the Segway Personal Transporter, a tale as old as the early 2000s. Marketed as the ultimate revolution in urban mobility, the Segway was supposed to be the vehicle that changed everything. You'd be zipping around town, effortlessly avoiding traffic, and looking like you just stepped out of a sci-fi movie. In reality, though, the Segway turned out to be more of a conversation starter than a transportation solution. Let's start with the price tag. The Segway wasn't just expensive, it was the kind of pricey that made people go, wait, how much? When it first hit the market, it was around $5,000. That's the kind of money where you start thinking about getting a used car, a really nice bike, or, rent. This steep cost made it inaccessible to most people who weren't tech enthusiasts with deep pockets. Then there was the range. Sure, You could cruise around for a bit, but don't get too carried away. The Segway's battery life wasn't exactly marathon material. Depending on the model and conditions, you might get 15 to 24 miles before needing to plug it in. So, if you planned on using it for a full day's adventure, you'd better have a charging station or a friendly neighborhood power outlet nearby. And let's talk about the design. Practical? Not so much. The Segway had this bulky, upright look that was a bit awkward. It wasn't the easiest thing to carry around or store. Imagine trying to haul one of these up the stairs to your apartment or finding a spot for it in a crowded cafe. Plus, there was the whole balancing act. It worked fine once you got the hang of it, but not everyone found it as intuitive as riding a bike. All these quirks earned the Segway a reputation, the device of the future that's always been 5 years away. It's like a perpetually postponed promise, always on the cusp of changing our lives, but never quite getting there. Despite its ambitious debut, the Segway became more of a niche product. You'd see them in guided city tours or security patrols in large campuses, but rarely as a common sight in daily commutes. In the end, the Segway was an innovative idea that couldn't quite overcome its own limitations. It remains a fascinating piece of tech history, a symbol of how the future sometimes takes longer to arrive than we expect, kind of like flying cars or those self-tying sneakers from Back to the Future. Maybe one day, but for now, we'll keep dreaming. 5. Samsung Galaxy Note 7. Ah, the infamous Samsung Galaxy Note 7. The phone that was supposed to be the belle of the ball, but ended up crashing harder than a toddler on a sugar rush. Picture this: Samsung, with all its tech wizardry, unveils the Galaxy Note 7, strutting onto the smartphone scene like it owns the place. It's got all the bells and whistles, promising to revolutionize the way we do. Well, everything. From its sleek design to its cutting-edge features, it was love at first sight for tech enthusiasts everywhere. But then, reality hit harder than a Monday morning alarm. Turns out, there was a tiny hiccup in the grand plan, a little flaw in the battery design that turned these sleek gadgets into fiery little grenades. Suddenly, reports of exploding phones started popping up faster than memes during a celebrity scandal. It was chaos. People were afraid to charge their phones for fear of setting off a miniature fireworks display in their pockets. Samsung had no choice but to hit the brakes and initiate a global recall faster than you can say, hot potato. The Galaxy Note 7 went from being the hottest gadget on the market to the butt of every tech joke overnight. It was like watching a high-speed train derailment in slow motion. You couldn't look away, no matter how much you wanted to. The fallout was more than just financial. It was a full-blown reputation meltdown. Samsung went from being the golden child of the tech world to the black sheep faster than you can say, exploding battery. Billions of dollars down the drain, consumer trust shattered like a dropped smartphone screen. It was a PR nightmare of epic proportions, the kind that gives marketing executives nightmares for years to come. The whole fiasco served as a wake-up call for the entire electronics industry. Suddenly, rigorous product testing and safety standards weren't just buzzwords thrown around in boardrooms. They were the difference between success and spectacular failure. It was a reminder that no matter how fancy your gadgets are, if they're liable to blow up in your face, you've got a problem. So, what's the moral of the story? Well, besides the obvious, don't play with fire, especially if it's in your pocket. It's a cautionary tale about the perils of cutting corners in pursuit of innovation. Because let's face it, no one wants their smartphone to double as a hand grenade. 6. Deepwater Horizon Oil Rig. All right, let's dive into the murky waters of the Deepwater Horizon oil rig debacle. A tale that makes you think twice about shouting "Drill, baby, drill." The Deepwater Horizon disaster wasn't just your run-of-the-mill oopsie. It was a colossal mess-up that left Mother Nature shaking her head in disappointment and fishermen wondering if they should trade in their nets for desk jobs. Picture this: a sunny day in the Gulf of Mexico, birds chirping, waves lapping against the rig, and a bunch of folks in hard hats thinking they've got this whole drilling thing down pat. But then, out of nowhere, disaster strikes. Cue the dramatic music because we're about to witness a catastrophic blowout, the kind of blowout that would make your hair stand on end if it weren't already covered in oil. Suddenly, the Deepwater Horizon isn't just a rig, it's a ticking time bomb, spewing oil into the ocean like there's no tomorrow. And let me tell you, there's nothing quite like the sight of marine life coated in crude to ruin your appetite for seafood. Now, you might be thinking, how bad could it really be? Well, let me paint you a picture. Imagine your favorite beach, the one with the soft sand and the perfect waves. Now imagine it looking like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie, with oil slicks instead of sunbathers, and dead fish instead of sandcastles. Yeah, not exactly the vacation spot of your dreams. But wait, there's more. Not only did the Deepwater Horizon disaster wreak havoc on the environment, but it also put a serious dent in the livelihoods of folks who depend on the ocean for their bread and butter. Fishermen found themselves out of work, tourists turned their noses up at Gulf seafood, and local businesses took a hit that would make even the toughest entrepreneur shed a tear. And let's not forget about the elephant in the room, the glaring shortcomings of safety measures in the oil industry. It's like they were playing a game of Russian roulette with the planet, crossing their fingers and hoping for the best while cutting corners left and right. Spoiler alert, it didn't end well. So, what's the moral of the story? Well, aside from the obvious, don't mess with Mother Nature, it's a reminder that maybe, just maybe, we should think twice before drilling our way to oblivion. Because when disaster strikes, there's no magic eraser for the mess we leave behind. 7. Volkswagen's Dieselgate scandal. Alrighty, buckle up, because we're diving into one of the wildest rides in automotive history, the Volkswagen's Dieselgate scandal. Picture this, Volkswagen, a household name synonymous with reliable cars and the quirky charm of the Beetle, finds itself in some seriously hot water. So, what went down? Well, imagine you're playing a game of hide and seek, but instead of hiding behind the curtains, Volkswagen decided to sneakily tweak their diesel cars to pass emissions tests. Ingenious, right? Wrong. Like a kid caught with their hand in the cookie jar, Volkswagen's scheme got busted big time. Turns out, those sneaky tweaks, known as defeat devices, were a big no-no. They made the cars seem way cleaner during tests than they actually were on the road. Cue the ominous music because this wasn't just any scandal, it was the Dieselgate drama. Now, let's talk fallout. Volkswagen's reputation took a nosedive faster than you can say VW Beetle. Suddenly, the automaker went from being everyone's favorite road trip companion to the black sheep of the automotive world. Trust was shattered, and customers were left feeling betrayed, like finding out your favorite superhero is actually the villain in disguise. But wait, there's more. This scandal wasn't just about Volkswagen getting caught with its pants down. It opened a can of worms about the whole emissions testing shebang. Suddenly, folks were questioning everything. Are these tests even legit? Can we trust what car companies tell us? It was like discovering your favorite reality show was scripted all along. And let's not forget the regulatory folks who were supposed to keep an eye on things. They were caught snoozing at the wheel, making us wonder if they were more like the sleepy security guard than the eagle-eyed watchdogs we thought they were. So, what's the moral of this story? Well, for one, don't mess with emissions tests. It's like trying to cheat in a game of Monopoly. Eventually, you'll get caught, and there's no get-out-of-jail-free card for corporate shenanigans. But hey, maybe there's a silver lining. The Dieselgate debacle forced the automotive industry to take a long, hard look in the mirror and rethink its priorities. It's like hitting rock bottom and realizing you need to make some serious changes. Here's hoping the next chapter in the automotive saga is less scandalous and more about innovation, trust, and maybe a few less defeat devices. 8. Juicero's Smart Juicer. Ah, the saga of Juicero's Smart Juicer. Picture this. You're standing in your sleek, modern kitchen, staring at this shiny, high-tech juicer that promised to be the Elon Musk of the juicing world. It's supposed to make your mornings easier, your juices smoother, and your life just a tad more futuristic. But then, reality hits harder than a bag of kale. So, here's the deal. Juicero thought they had the juicing game all figured out. They rolled onto the scene with these fancy packs of pre-cut fruits and veggies, ready to be pulverized into liquid gold. It was like the iPhone of juicing, complete with its own ecosystem of proprietary packs. But here's where the plot twist comes in. Turns out you didn't need a fancy machine to make juice from these packs? Nope. All you needed was your good old reliable hands. Yep, you heard that right. The same hands you use to text, type, and occasionally high-five people could apparently do the job just fine. It's like buying a Ferrari and realizing you could have just stuck with your old bicycle. Suddenly, this $400 juicer starts to feel more like a glorified paperweight than a game changer. And oh, did the internet have a field day with this revelation? Juicero went from being the darling of Silicon Valley to the punchline of every tech joke faster than you could say, cold-pressed. It became the poster child for everything people love to hate about tech excess. I mean, come on. Who needs a Wi-Fi connected juicer that's fancier than your smartphone? The whole debacle was like watching a Silicon Valley version of the Emperor's New Clothes. Here they were, parading around with their high-tech gadget, only for someone to point out that, hey, maybe we've all been sipping on the Kool-Aid a bit too much. But hey, let's give credit where credit is due. Juicero did teach us a valuable lesson. Sometimes, the simplest solutions are right in front of us. Who needs all that fancy machinery when a good squeeze from your hands can do the trick? It's a bit like realizing you don't need an app to tell you when to drink water. Your body's been sending you push notifications all along. So, as we bid adieu to Juicero and its overpriced dreams of juicing domination, let's raise a glass, of hand-squeezed juice, of course, to the enduring power of simplicity. And maybe next time Silicon Valley wants to reinvent the wheel, they'll remember to check if the old one's still rolling just fine. Cheers to that. 9. Amazon's Fire Phone. Well, gather round, folks. Let's talk about Amazon's little adventure into the world of smartphones, shall we? Picture this. Jeff Bezos, sitting atop his mountain of prime boxes, probably thought, hey, why not conquer the smartphone realm too? And thus, the Fire Phone was born with all the excitement of a fireworks show and all the financial bang of a damp sparkler. Now, give credit where credit's due. The Fire Phone wasn't lacking in innovation. Oh no, it had bells and whistles to spare. There was this nifty thing called dynamic perspective, which basically meant the screen could wiggle and jiggle as you moved it around. It's like the phone was trying to keep up with your dance moves or something. And let's not forget about Firefly, the feature that could identify practically anything you pointed your phone's camera at. Need to know what breed of cat just sauntered into your yard? Firefly had your back. But alas, innovation alone couldn't save this little gadget from its inevitable fate. It's like bringing a fancy caviar dish to a backyard BBQ. Sure, it's impressive, but it's not what the people came for. And boy, did the people not come for the Fire Phone. Why? Well, first off, it had a price tag that could make even the most frugal of us gasp for air. You know, the kind of price that makes you wonder if the phone comes with a personal butler who'll fan you with palm leaves while you use it. Then, there was the app situation, or lack thereof. It's like showing up to a party where everyone's speaking a language you don't understand. Sure, you can try to mingle, but it's just not the same. That's how the Fire Phone felt in the smartphone world, like it was speaking its own language, and nobody else got the memo. And let's not even get started on its performance. It's like trying to race a tortoise against a hare, except in this case, the tortoise didn't even make it past the starting line. But hey, at least the Fire Phone taught us all a valuable lesson. Even the mighty Amazon can stumble every now and then. It's like watching Superman trip over his own cape. You never thought you'd see it happen, but there it is, right before your very eyes. So here's to the Fire Phone, a cautionary tale of ambition, innovation, and the occasional faceplant. Who knows, maybe one day we'll look back on it and chuckle, raising our glasses to the little phone that couldn't quite make the cut. Cheers to that. 10. Microsoft Windows Vista. Ah, good old Windows Vista, the operating system that promised the moon and delivered a cheese sandwich. Picture this. Microsoft, with all the confidence of a kid showing off a science fair project, unveils Vista as the pinnacle of Windows evolution. But oh boy, did it stumble out of the gate like a newborn giraffe trying to stand. You see, Vista was supposed to be the shining knight riding in to save us from the medieval days of Windows XP. They hyped it up like it was the second coming of sliced bread. But reality had other plans. Instead of a smooth upgrade, users were greeted with a digital mess akin to untangling headphones in the dark. Compatibility issues? Oh, Vista had those in spades. It was like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Your favorite software or hardware? Yeah, good luck getting them to play nice with Vista. It was like inviting a picky eater to a potluck. Nothing seemed to satisfy it. And then, there was the performance. Oh, the sluggish performance. Vista moved at the speed of a sloth on a Monday morning. You'd click on something and have time to brew a cup of coffee before it decided to respond. It was like watching a snail race, except even the snails were laughing at Vista's pace. But wait, there's more. Enter the user account control, UAC prompts, the bane of every Vista user's existence. It was like having a hyperactive security guard constantly asking if you were sure you wanted to do anything on your own computer. Are you sure you want to open that harmless program you've used 1,000,000 times before? Yes. Yes. 1,000 times yes. But Vista wouldn't take no for an answer. So what did people do when faced with this technological train wreck? They clung to Windows XP like it was a life raft in a sea of digital despair. Some brave souls dared to downgrade to Windows 7, hoping for salvation from Vista's woes. It was like going back to an X after a disastrous rebound. Familiarity seemed so much cozier than the mess they'd gotten themselves into. But hey, Vista taught us an important lesson. Always test drive before you buy. It's like trying on shoes. You wouldn't walk a mile in them without making sure they fit first. So, here's to you, Windows Vista, the operating system that taught us patience, perseverance, and the importance of reading reviews before hitting that upgrade button. Cheers to learning the hard way. Conclusion. To sum up, the history of technological advancements is littered with examples of grand ideas that fizzled out or backfired spectacularly. Whether due to unforeseen consequences, flawed execution, or sheer hubris, these cautionary tales remind us that progress is often accompanied by pitfalls. As we continue to push the boundaries of innovation, let us learn from the mistakes of the past and approach the future with humility, foresight, and a healthy dose of skepticism. And just like that, folks, we're wrapping up another stellar episode. Here at Whitwork Studios, we thrive on the love and support of sharp individuals like yourselves. Now, if you're feeling like rolling out the red carpet treatment, getting VIP access to all our latest podcasts, and becoming a bona fide champion of the arts, why not saunter over to our premium subscribers club? You've got the savvy, no need for a GPS. But before you embark on your journey to conquer the world armed with newfound knowledge, let's give a roaring round of applause to our pals over at Gizmo League. These fine folks are the true heroes behind the scenes, making this podcast possible and delivering all that tech magic straight to your eager ears. So, if you've got a hankering for some gadget goodness, hop on over to www.gizmoleague.com and see what's cooking. Until our paths cross again, keep that curiosity burning bright and stay as awesome as you are. Peace out, my friends.